Cup final, but no change to the atmosphere here at Wembley. Both clubs have brought their full contingent of supporters, and it all adds up to an exciting and entertaining game in prospect. Earlier today, Paul Dempsey was allowed into the Bristol Rovers dressing room, where he met the manager, Gerry Francis.
Gerry, first up, how does it compare taking a team to Wembley as a manager with your appearances here as a player?
I think I'd rather be playing, but it's nice to be back here. It's just a long time since I've been here, 12 years, so it's nice to be back at the old place again.
What does it mean to you as a manager who's had his ups and downs in a very difficult environment at Bristol to take a team here today?
Well, I mean, we've had a good season, you know, won the third division championship, and we're at Wembley, so it's not finished yet, so hopefully today we can go out and do the double.
What do you feel about Rovers? You've beaten them twice in the league. That must be a great source of confidence today.
Yeah, I don't think that matters on the day. It depends who adapts to the situation the best and who plays well on the day. I don't think it matters.
As a manager, what are you looking for from your players today?
I want them to win.
Well, you can't argue with that. The teams, as you can see, already out on the pitch, waiting for the festivities to start. So let's not waste any time at all and join our commentary team, who today are Ron Atkinson and Peter Brackley.
Thank you, Matthew, and good afternoon to you all on the day. The Wembley spotlight falls on two of football's most deserving cases. For the two Rovers, Bristol and Tranmere, the transformation over the past 3 years has been quite extraordinary. Their respective futures could hardly have been bleaker, really. Tranmere, bottom of Division 4, close to liquidation, and Bristol, dubbed the Ragbag Rovers, had no home of their own, with no money to spend and morale rapidly sinking. What a contrasting story then now. Bristol Rovers still without a ground, it's true, but out on the field, well, they've been a revelation. Third division champions, only 5 league defeats all this season, and Tranmere have had an outstanding campaign too. Fourth in the table, leading goal scorers in the entire football league, and with every chance of going up via next week's playoff final, also here at Wembley. And the success of the two teams bears testimony, of course, to the expertise of the two managers. Gerry Francis, we saw there, the former England captain of Bristol Rovers, and Johnny King, the wily old fox, who's revitalised football at Tranmere's Prenton Park. And the guest of honour today, Sir Stanley Matthews, being presented here to the two teams, starting with Tranmere Rovers, leading them along the line, their captain, Jimmy Harvey. Marvellous to see Sir Stanley here at Wembley, 75 years old now, 54 England caps, and one of the great servants to English footballs this century. Young Sean Garnett there, being introduced to Sir Stanley. And there's Johnny King, the manager, who's done an incredible job really turning things around at Prenton Park. So now across to Bristol Rovers. Over 30,000 have followed Rovers from the West Country in support of their team here. Their captain is the Welshman, Vaughan Jones. Also along the line, that's Phil Purnell, Devon White. And there's a great atmosphere in the stadium today, and certainly a crowd, I would think, of around 65,000. Many of them decked out in blue and white, the colours, of course, of Bristol Rovers. It's quite a scene at Wembley for the final of the Leyland DAF. These two teams who've battled through. It's the third and fourth divisions cup, of course. Various other officials taking part in the presentation from the Football League and from Leyland DAF, and also Michael Sinclair, chairman of the third and fourth divisions. As we await now then the anthems, and the atmosphere builds now towards the kick-off.
Will you kindly stand for the national anthem?
So here we go then. We can take a look now at the two sides taking part in this final. Here's the Bristol Rovers lineup. In goal is Brian Parkin, who's proved himself a most able successor to Nigel Martin, now of course with Crystal Palace. Four at the back, on the right Ian Alexander, Jeff Twentyman at 31, the oldest man in the side, and alongside him, outstanding young prospect in Steve Yates, and left back the Rovers captain Vaughan Jones. Four in midfield, although David Mayhew is more of a winger really, and he's got 21 goals this season. The two central midfield players, Ian Holloway and Andy Rees, and out on the left, Phil Purnell. And the two up front, Carl Saunders, one of only two men in the side who actually cost a transfer fee, and alongside him the towering figure of Devon White, a striker you can rest assured will certainly be putting himself about. We'll now look at the Tranmere Rovers side, and their formation is a flexible 5-3-2. Eric Nixon, the former Manchester City man, a most reliable last line of defence for them. Five at the back, but only three outright defenders. On the flanks, young Tony Thomas and Steve Mungle, and they provide extra attacking options. Steve Vickers and Sean Garnett are the markers. Garnett standing in for Dave Higgins, who's suspended, and Mark Hughes is the Tranmere sweeper. The midfield trio, Chris Malkin, very positive, pacey runner on the flank. He's got 24 goals this season. Neil McNabb and Jimmy Harvey, two very experienced players in the midfield. And the two strikers, Jim Steele, a big, aggressive front player, and Ian Muir, who's had a record-breaking season for Tranmere, the number 10. He scored 34 goals in all competitions. So those are the two lineups. The referee is in the centre circle now, Vic Callow, just waiting for the two captains to arrive. So alongside me in the commentary box here is Sean Atkinson. Ron, I wonder what your feelings are about this final.
Well, I think the first thing to say is the tremendous atmosphere. You know, everybody tends to write these sort of matches off as no hope sort of matches, but tremendous atmosphere, particularly from the Bristol fans. If you look at the comparisons in style, which I think are going to be very, very interesting, Bristol Rovers are a type of wear them down side. They'll go, as you said, a lot off the front man, off Devon White, get support up to him from Mayhew and Saunders. I think you'll find that Tranmere will play a more steady, more composed, more cultured style with McNabb and Harvey influencing the midfield very, very much so. Both experienced players, both capable of dominating the game here.
Neil McNabb has played in the First Division. Jimmy Harvey did as well for Arsenal a few seasons back. But Neil McNabb, who was signed earlier in the season, back in January, in fact, from Manchester City, he's the man who can really make Tranmere tick and just might be the man for the big occasion. And of course, on the bench for Tranmere, old super sub Ron, David Fairclough.
That's right. I think the last time I saw him play was here in a Liverpool side against when I was at United in the League Cup final.
So often he seemed to come on and score spectacular goals, but his career never quite took off. He's been playing in Belgium for Beveren and a little spell in Switzerland too, and he's not really forced his way, on a regular basis anyway, into the Tranmere side. But these fans from Bristol, that's quite incredible. They sold over 30,000 tickets, Bristol Rovers, and in fact there was such a demand for tickets, they had to open up a local church hall to help sell them all. Did wonders for the meeting of the Townswomen's Guild too, I expect. David Mayhew, rather that was Steve Yates. This is Carl Saunders here. Steve Yates, the young man I mentioned earlier on, who's become such a key player at the back for Bristol Rovers. Carl Saunders, they'll be looking to him for the goals up front. And that's an incredible turnout, really, for this cup final. And the noise really echoing around the old stadium now. Tranmere Rovers in the all-white strip to kick off. Well, they're all shouting, "Come on, Rovers," so it's not easy to tell who's shouting the loudest. Rovers in the blue and white, Tranmere in the all-white, and away we go. Here's McNabb. An early chance for him to influence things. Interception, though, by Alexander. Certainly two attack-minded sides. And no one has scored more in the Football League than Tranmere. 86 goals in the third division. Jimmy Harvey is a cultured player. And it was a siding tackle then by Alexander. So the first free kick of the game awarded to Tranmere. Vic Callow, a very experienced referee. And Jerry Francis, the old England man. Well, there's some speculation about whether Jerry will be staying on for Bristol Rovers. There's talk of him perhaps going abroad or to a bigger club. But there are 30,000 people here in the stadium hoping he'll be staying with Bristol Rovers. A bad tackle then by Alexander on Steve Mungle. And Steve Mungle had been a doubt anyway beforehand, and perhaps he's got an injury as well that might ruin his progress in this game. Certainly needing some attention in these early minutes of the game, these tense opening minutes.
Yes, that'll be an important position for Tranmere, the left side of their, well, virtually of their midfield, although he's number 3, because he'll be asked to carry the fight along the left-hand side. He'll be asked to provide both a midfield and a winger-type role.
This is Muir trying to turn Yates on the edge of the area. Oh, he nearly did so too. Steele, Muir again, got his shot in. Comfortably dealt with though by Parkin. And he and Muir a really potent force up front. Here's Purnell. Malkin tackling back. Purnell wide on the left, you'll see him. Busy, industrious player. Here's Saunders. Now Purnell. Good play by him. Almost found Saunders then too, and he's won it back well. It's good determination shown by Saunders. And the tackle from Hughes was a fierce one. And a fair one though. And here's Malkin. Twentyman with the tackle on Jim Steele. His second spell with Tranmere, hoping to guide them back into the second division for the first time since the late 30s. And that will happen if Tranmere manage to beat Notts County in the promotion playoff here at Wembley next week. And he certainly has dismissed, Johnny King, any suggestion that Tranmere aren't too concerned about the result today. He said it's all about winning. And we want to be in a winning frame of mind when we take on Notts County. And of course, they've an old score to settle too. Bristol Rovers have beaten Tranmere on both occasions that they've met in the league this season. This is Garnett. Big test for him. Brought into the side in place of Steve Higgins, Dave Higgins rather, who's suspended. Holloway, very important in the midfield for Rovers. Here's Saunders now. Good shooting shots. Nixon, oh, just picked it out at last. A despairing save then by the goalkeeper. And Saunders thought he'd scored then. Certainly the way to goal opened up for him.
Good break from Carl Saunders. As you said earlier, very, very lively player. Keeper's done exceptionally well here. He's parried the first shot. You wonder whether Saunders might have just faced that across the goal to, I think it was Mayhew. But that is tremendous reaction save there, the second one. Nixon is a very, very improved keeper since he was at Manchester City. He had his critics there, but he's worked tremendously hard since coming to Tranmere, and he's one of the better keepers now lower down, I would think.
He trains every week, I know, with Neville Southall, and Neville rates him very highly. And he's talked about him being one of the best in the business now, and he certainly has come on enormously. Eric Nixon, and well, that was an inspired piece of goalkeeping by him then.
It also showed the threat of Carl Saunders, though. I mean, the two central defenders, Vickers and Garnett, have got a tremendous responsibility in there against White and Saunders.
He is so quick, Carl Saunders. He was playing, in fact, in Stoke City's reserves at right back when Joey Francis moved in for him. He was the second purchase that Jerry has made. Twentyman clearing there, and he's been a very good buy indeed.
You know, it's funny how the game goes. A few years ago at Stoke City, we understood he was going to be released. You know, this is once again when I was at Manchester, and we were thinking of taking him in as a squad player at United. You know, just shows how little situations can change for you.
And it's given him a new lease of life, obviously moving to Bristol Rovers, and he responded with, I think, 6 goals in his first half dozen or so matches. And although he's just gone slightly off the boil in terms of scoring goals recently, he's kept up his form, and he has helped steer Bristol Rovers to the 3rd Division Championship. But he certainly looks a much more effective player up front than I would have thought he would have done at right back. There you are. Mungal. Steele header. Safely through to Brian Parkin.
Yeah, those are situations where Tranmere will be looking either to feed Steele in on the back posts for his work in the air, or to slide little balls into Muir's feet. Muir's not the paciest player in the world, but he is very, very clever and has got great close control.
Saunders. Garnett just got in first. Garnett has only started half a dozen or so matches in Tranmere's first team. And I think at first Johnny King wasn't too anxious to tell him he was playing today, not wanting him to get too nervous. They heard about the suspension, obviously, to Higgins. I think they tried to keep it quiet for a while. And then told Garnett he was in the side, and, well, he'll be relishing this opportunity. Mayhew on for Devon White. Such a powerful leader of the line. Saunders now, more guile about him. Mayhew is very dangerous with those 21 goals this season. But he's mainly a poacher, doesn't often score from long range, but he's very dangerous around the penalty area.
I think he's the type, Peter, as the game develops, you'll see him supporting the front two more and more. Interesting thing watching it now, every long goal kick from Parkin, both White and Sanders get very, very close together, and in fact, the Tranmere sweeper Marcus Hughes doesn't really get round.
Well, there we are. That's the position. That's how they finish at the top of the third division. Bristol Rovers, the champions. Tranmere in fourth place, and they rather lost their way in the last few matches. Tranmere, at one stage, they were looking near certainties to go up in those, or one of those two automatic positions. And in the end, it was the two Bristol clubs who made it. Some pushing there, so free kick to Tranmere.
I think that is a classic tactic that Bristol will use. They'll flight things on top of Devon White. They'll get Carl Sanders and Mayhew very, very close to him to pick up all the little things that fall down of him. I mean, what is he, 6'4"? He's obviously going to win his fair percentage of aerial stuff.
And if he doesn't make it, they've got a chap on the bench called Mclean, Chris Mclean, who's 6'5", so they've got an option there. Here's Harvey. Hughes is the sweeper in the Tranmere side. Vaughan-Jones away for Bristol Rovers. So a fairly open contest so far, and certainly the best chance falling to Carl Saunders of Bristol Rovers. McNabb with the throw. Here's Hughes. Intelligent player. Looking there for Steele and Malkin. And here's Muir. Hits it well, and the goal! Glorious strike by Ian Muir. That's the confidence that scoring 34 goals gives you. And didn't he put that one away superbly then? Half a smile no more from Johnny King. A long, long way to go yet. But that's a great start for Tranmere Rovers.
I think this epitomises Ian Muir. Little ball bowling about, doesn't take any time. He's got very, very good feet, one touch. Keeper may be a bit disappointed he didn't quite make on that one, but an excellent finish from the Tranmere striker.
Malkin did well to knock it back into the path of Ian Muir, and that was sweetly tucked away past Brian Parkin. Very sharp finishing.
Full of confidence, Peter. 34 goals or something under his belt. Doesn't worry about those when they come out the air, he just hits them.
So, Tranmere have taken the lead. Bristol Rovers with that early chance for Saunders, but now it's Ian Muir who has scored the first goal of the game.
That'll have pleased his old mentor as well. As I see it, in fact I saw him on the motorway today, Frank Worthington. I know he had great faith in him when he bought him. I think he bought him from Brighton or somewhere like that.
I think you say bought. I think it was a free transfer actually, so that was quite an acquisition for Tranmere. And Ian Muir has broken the club's all-time goal-scoring record. He's also scored the most in one season, so it's turning into quite a campaign for him. Bristol Rovers, rest assured, will fight back. And so often in matches, Bristol's fitness has paid off dividends towards the end of matches. They come back and score goals towards the end.
Yeah, if they're looking for omens, didn't they take the lead in that last league game, Tranmere?
They did, and Ian Muir scored the goal, and I think roughly the same time as well, so who knows, perhaps history might repeat itself. Hughes. Now here's Rees for Bristol Rovers, finding Vaughan Jones, the captain. Malkin in very strongly. And off he goes again. He really is extremely quick, this fellow. He reckons he can do 100 metres in just over a shade over 11 seconds, so that's pretty quick. So the Tranmere supporters with plenty to celebrate so far, outnumbered, I would think, quite considerably by the Bristol Rovers fans. But now those Tranmere supporters making themselves heard around Wembley Stadium.
It's noticeable that Holloway and Rees aren't prepared to give any ground at all. Harvey and McNabb are going to have to work hard for the space this afternoon.
That's in the centre of the midfield. Harvey and McNabb, two extremely skillful players, but Bristol Rovers have got a couple of terriers in there, in Rees and Holloway, both of whom have been most instrumental in Rovers' success. Bristol, that is. Now Muir, scorer of the first goal. It's Thomas tangling with Yates. Two young players who are attracting a lot of interest from bigger clubs. Young Steve Yates here, just 20 years old. He's played at the back alongside Jeff Twentyman throughout the season. And Rovers have a tremendous defensive record. Vaughan Jones looking for Devon White. Garnett got it away. And Nixon able to collect. The pitch looks absolutely immaculate, Ron, but I wonder about the weather. It's going to be very hot out there, and the pitch is bound to be tiring for the players as the game wears on.
That's right. Theoretically, it should suit Tranmere better than Bristol, because obviously Bristol use an awful lot of energy the way they play, whereas Tranmere, when they get control of a game, do play at a little bit more of a measured pace.
That pass was only just measured back to Brian Parkin.
You saw the Predators' instincts, though, by Muir, didn't you? As soon as he saw Vaughan Jones turn to even play that one back, he was on his way trying to anticipate the back pass. Only just short as well.
The timely intervention initially by Vickers. McNabb's pass. McNabb again.
Goals had a good effect as well on Tranmere. I thought they looked a little bit edgy at first. I thought actually Bristol had settled to their task better till the goal, but they seem as if they've started to bed down a little bit now.
But as we were saying earlier on, up at Fenton Park in the league match just a few weeks ago, Ian Muir gave Tranmere the lead. Bristol came back with 2 goals to win it and went on to the championship, and Tranmere really struggled from there on. David White with Garnett. That's Hughes just getting in before Holloway. Hughes, who's wearing a plaster cast on his arm, he fractured the arm a few weeks ago, so he's wearing that protective covering. There it is. Now Steele. Muir's pass, well cut out though. 15 minutes into the first half.
I think one pleasing thing for both managers, neither team seems to be inhibited at all by the occasion.
Certainly not Tranmere Rovers, who lead by the only goal so far, scored by Ian Muir. And the wrestling match produces a free kick for Bristol Rovers.
Often there's a danger in a game like this that teams try to change their natural style, thinking they're playing at Wembley and they have to do something different. So that's not apparent at the moment. Both sides are playing the way they've played all season to get here.
Tony Thomas getting a ticking off from the referee. Wears number 11, but operates really as a right back, a very much attack-minded one though. Hughes away, powerfully, but only as far as Alexander. Devon White down the middle, didn't really time his jump, Mayhew. And of the two number 5s, Hughes came out on top.
Well, he'll have to do that an awful lot this afternoon, Hughes, because as the spare man at the back, it's obvious White is going to win his fair percentage of aerial battles, and he's got to look for what we call the little second balls, the knockdowns, and all the little scratchings that fall down from a defensive point of view.
A test here again, and over the bar, only just. Mayhew in the right place again. He's so often lurking in menacing positions.
Good chance there. You see the threat of the big man in the air. I mean, no matter how you defend, whether you mark in front or mark behind it, if the throw is right, and the fella has got the aerial advantage, there's always going to be some sort of a touch on. And very unlucky that, actually.
Got up extremely well then, Devon White. So Bristol Rovers on their mettle, on their game. And this has every prospect of being an absorbing final. Off Thomas for a throw to Bristol Rovers, who lost only one of their last 27 matches in all competitions. Astonishing finale to the season for them. And here's Saunders, who's posing a lot of problems up front. Flags up for offside. Just take that opportunity you're on to offer our commiserations to you on Sheffield Wednesday being relegated. And I know you don't want to think about it too much, but just one little story you can tell us about when you went on holiday to get away from it all.
Aye, that's right. We went to Spain to get the lads away from it all very, very quickly. And second day there, we're walking down the street. Weather's awful, so we're all in a bad mood. Everything's awful. And the first thing we do is bump into the Luton Town players walking down the same street.
And then you switch the television on. Go on.
Then I put the telly on, and they said instead of tonight's advertised programme, we'll in fact show the game of Sheffield Wednesday versus Nottingham Forest, which was in fact the game that put us down. So you can imagine that was a really, really good holiday.
So you sat and watched that, I suppose?
Oh, sure.
Then run, Ron. You'll bounce back if I know you. Here's Holloway now. In for Saunders. He's got Mayhew up with him too. Here's Rees. Tumble in the penalty area. Half-hearted appeals for penalty. Nothing too serious as Purnell went down.
No, never a suggestion that actually, but it is impressive the way now that the Bristol team are trying to get midfield players forward, sometimes even past the strikers. They do look as if they've got a lot of industry and energy in the middle of the field.
Now here's Muir, full of confidence as you'd expect. McNabb now. Malkin went through the middle. And that's good play by McNabb. Now, can Thomas get his cross in here? Malkin at the far post! Off the line. And again, they're claiming a penalty at the other end now.
No, I think you'll find that wasn't a penalty, Peter. That was definitely on the lad's chest. But what a beautiful build-up from Tranmere then. McNabb holds the ball, times his pass really, really right into the run of Thomas, who's made the break from a deep position. Good ball in. And Malkin, no, off his chest. But a very, very good counter-attack from Tranmere Rovers.
But they're under pressure now at the other end. Alexander to take the throw. And how evenly matched these two teams are, almost at the midway point in the first half. Mayhew. Support from Alexander. A teasing cross, but Nixon holding on well. And he does look a very confident goalkeeper. That's how it stands then. Bristol Rovers 0, Tranmere Rovers 1. 20 minutes played. McNabb. Here's Harvey. Mayhew's pass for Saunders to run onto. Hughes was there. Here he is again. Good layoff by Steele. Harvey's down injured. Not featuring in this move. And Alex Twentyman rather steering it all the way back to Brian Parkin.
I think Harvey found out there that if he dwells on the ball too long, he's going to get very, very much crowded and pressured by both Rees and Holloway.
Harvey. Purnell, good covering by him. The two number 11s. And Purnell warmly applauded by the crowd. That's good defending, Rob.
That's good defending. It's also, there's a good psychological battle going on between those two, where who's going to be positive. The young lad at right full-back, Thomas, wants to come forward, as we saw in the earlier movement. He's just proved again there how good he is at coming forward. Now,
the Rovers looking to attack then, Bristol Rovers. I have to keep saying which team, can't just say Rovers today.
so saying that, you know, there's a big responsibility on Purnell. If he wants to keep Thomas back, he's got to attack him. If he's not, he's got to just stay on. When the young lad breaks forward, he's got to stay with him. That's going to be an absorbing duel, that.
Well, this match you're watching live on Sky, and of course the World Cup will be featuring very prominently indeed on Eurosport. Every second of every game you can see from the World Cup finals in Italy, so don't miss it. We'll bring you all the action from Italy. Now it's a throw to Bristol Rovers, who've recovered from the shock of conceding that early goal, and now looking for one themselves. Jones taking the throw. And Devon White then was clambering over his marker. But he really is a handful, Devon White. He was spotted by Jerry Francis. In fact, when he came on as a substitute in a match that Jerry was playing in, I think then for Lincoln, and he'd rather disappeared from the scene then, but Jerry remembered him and went back for him some while later. And it's a decision he certainly hasn't regretted. Muir almost got it then, Yates having to watch him so carefully. White and Garlick together. Free kick this time to Bristol Rovers. But he's so competitive, Ron, it's hard to tie him down, isn't it, Devon White?
Oh, that's right. I mean, what he's got to do, he's got to punch his weight. I mean, I would imagine, well, he would do on league grounds. He wouldn't be inhibited. He'd battle and scrap for everything. He'd try and make every difficult ball his, and generally try to unsettle defenders.
Here's the free kick. White is in there, and Saunders too. Only partially cleared. Malkin scrapping then with Purnell. Here's Jones. In for Mayhew. Again marauding up front. That was a vigorous challenge. He's a scrapper, this fellow, Tony Thomas. Still a teenager, and Phil Purnell felt the full weight of that one. Jones will look for the long throw-in. Alexander's header. Alexander again. Here's Purnell. Big touch off, but Thomas will get there first for Tranmere Rovers. Another chance for Vaughan Jones to hurl one in. Dean White will be the target. 20 has come up too from the back. Harvey playing Tranmere out of trouble well. Malkin. The break is on here. Good pass set for Steele, who didn't quite have the pace though. And Mayhew got back well to cover him. Jones. Holloway. That's the only goal so far, scored by Ian Muir early on for Tranmere. The free kick is to Bristol Rovers. Taken by Jones. This is Devon White. Support arriving from Purnell. But Thomas was in the way for Tranmere.
Clever free kick, that, and that's the type of pass I think Bristol Rovers will have to use an awful lot. One dinked in down the sides of the central defenders. With the Tranmere foot. Well, let's just watch this throw, please.
Devon White, watch for him on the edge of the 6-yard area. I think he got the touch on then. And the linesman is indicating a corner, so if Devon White did, well, then it must have hit somebody else as well.
Yes, that's a first-class example of having a big man in the middle, having a big thrower. Even if you do clear it, more often than not, you clear it into dangerous situations.
Twentyman is up there too, number 3. There's Devon White, beaten in the air though.
I was saying, Peter, what Bristol Rovers should ought to try and do if they're hitting on the counter is to try and drop balls in just behind the Tranmere fullback areas, because both fullbacks, Thomas and Mongol, are in fact pushed well on, and there is in fact space to hit there.
The throw aimed at Devon White, and the free kick is awarded to Tranmere. Devon White, who's not scored all that many goals this season, 13 in the end, and he's certainly helped lay on a few for his teammates.
You'll notice as well on those set plays that more often than not, Tranmere virtually marked Devon White with 3 players. One on the front, one at the front trying to block anything in thrown at a slightly lower trajectory, one immediately behind, and then the spare man again looking for the second with any fall downs.
White, Hughes is with him and fouls him. Mark Hughes, who's a former Bristol Rovers player, and Hughes, in fact, I think has lost a bit of weight since his Bristol Rovers days. Slimmed down a little, and his form was such that earlier on in the season they were talking about the possibility of a Welsh cap for him. It's Holloway with the free kick. Alexander in for Saunders, didn't quite make it though. Or that Hughes was caught by Rees. It was an untidy tackle, and I think rather unnecessary, and it may well earn Andy Rees a caution, certainly a reprimand from the referee. Ron, that was a bit nasty.
Yeah, I think it's an honest attempt to win the ball. I mean, he's so enthusiastic, that lad. He's flying about here, there, and everywhere. That he's covering ground at tempo, and he feels the ball was in the loose to be won.
So some attention needed for Mark Hughes. Already with that fractured arm, remember. Johnny King making some notes down there on the touchline. We saw Steve Coppell doing that in the FA Cup final. Seems to be a trend. Do you do that during a game, Ron? Do you make notes? Do you
normally do it. Well, what it is you're doing your Christmas shopping list. Then, there's a lull in the game. You might as well take advantage of it.
Crosswords, letters home.
Correct. Yeah. Anagrams. Well, what he's basically doing, he'll be putting out a few little points, just as reminders to himself. He won't be reading a long lecture or anything. A few little points when he goes in at half-time, but more or less to remind himself that what he wants to tell the players.
Steve Coppell seems to be writing the entire game, isn't he?
Oh, he's got a book coming out as well.
Saunders beaten in the air by Vickers. Vickers picking up Saunders, and Garnett is shadowing Devon White. Yates with the tackle then on Malkin. Here's McNabb for Tranmere. Muir and Steele showing themselves up front. Here's Muir now. They can't allow him to turn, and they didn't either. Looked like a shove to me, but maybe not.
That's what I think McNabb will have to do more often than not. He'll have to just drop off the game a little bit, because they are pushing in tight against him when he steps forward in midfield. So he's going to have to drop off the game a little bit to get his space. And on the 2 occasions when he's done that, he's used the ball extremely well.
15 minutes of the first half to go. Tranmere still leading Bristol Rovers by a 1-0. But here's Saunders now for Bristol. Rather nudged aside, but the referee has given only a throw. Saunders. Alexander with the cross in. Holloway challenging, beaten though by Harvey. Now Saunders. Nixon was just in there before Devon White, who came hurtling towards him. And he must have seen him out of the corner of his eye, I would think. But he stood firm. How would you fancy being a goalkeeper here with Devon White coming at you? But he held on well. Away by Twentyman. Holloway caught in possession. Malkin now. Good shot. Well struck by Steele. So both goalkeepers on duty at either end. Malkin's pass laid off. And hit first time by Jim Steele. This match coming to you live from Wembley, and we are of course sharing coverage today with the Refuge Assurance Sunday League. The match at Canterbury, that's the latest score. We'll have coverage later on. It's Kent 245 for 5. Live coverage, in fact, at 3:45, half-time in the match at Wembley. Which Tranmere Rovers are leading by a goal to 0. Here's Jones. Played in for Saunders. The referee saw nothing wrong. And that's composed defending this time by Ian Alexander.
Yes, at the moment Tranmere are content, well, say content, they're having to defend because Bristol have got very, very busy trying to chase the equaliser. But there is always that threat, isn't there?
There's a threat then.
There's always the threats. Muir, Steele and Malkin are three very, very dangerous operators up there, and Bristol have got to be sure they don't overstretch.
Hughes now, elegantly forward, but pursued by Devon White. And they really are extremely fit, Bristol Rovers. Joey Francis has made sure of that this season. Off goes Alexander now. Played through, it's marginal. Saunders maybe hasn't heard the whistle. He thinks he's got a penalty now, he hasn't.
It was marginal, particularly in view of the fact that the lad knew he was running the risk of offside, and he tried to hold his run as long as he could.
The ball was slipped through to Saunders then, and the linesman's flag was up very quickly. So there was no hesitation from the linesman, but that must have been very close.
You also saw the problems Tranmere would have had when Hughes had stepped out from his sweeper's role to try and join in the attack. Tranmere had lost possession, and to be fair to Bristol Rovers, they sprung it back very, very quickly. They're very unlucky there not to get back on terms.
Alexander, he was caught then as he played the ball through, and Saunders just offside.
Wasn't as far off as that looks. It was very, very narrow.
So a let-off really then for Tranmere. Disappointment for Bristol Rovers. And Ian Alexander needing some treatment. One of the regulars in the Bristol Rovers side. Indeed, rated one of the best right-backs in the division. He's been converted from a winger, really, by Joey Francis. This assortment of bargain buys and free transfers in the Bristol Rovers side. Charlie King, the club's record when he signed Neil McNabb earlier in the season, £125,000. I wonder what's going through his mind now as he perhaps takes charge of his team for the last time. And Ian Alexander is being carried off, so it's looking rather serious. And Bristol Rovers may well have some readjusting to do. A blow they could well do without towards half-time. Carl Saunders, the man who thought he'd broken through. And there it is. Well, as the ball's played, I reckon he must be level anyway. What do you think, Ron, looking again?
Oh, just about bang on level. Just about bang on level. Yeah.
Well, he had no doubts at all, the linesman.
No, he's made the right decision in all fairness.
It's Dennis Madgwick. Doug Charnley and Dennis Madgwick, the two linesmen referee, Vic Callow, and that hurts. So Ian Alexander, I wonder now if he's going to take no further part in this game. 9 minutes of the first half to go, and his team a goal down. That goal scored by Ian Muir after 10 minutes of the first half. And there he is, Ian Muir. Here's Vickers, looking for Steele, out-jumped though by Twentyman. Harvey now, crunching challenge by Twentyman. Now Saunders away. Devon White was up with him. I think the pass may have been slightly overhit anyway, but it didn't reach the target. Harvey with McNabb. It's lovely skill from McNabb. Steele.
That's something Bristol daren't allow. They daren't allow Harvey and McNabb to get a set of any passing rhythms. Otherwise they'll cut them to ribbons in the middle of the field.
Steele. McNabb now. Or Harvey rather. McNabb was away to his right. Here's Thomas. And back there helping out Purnell. Holloway for Bristol Rovers. First signing by Jerry Francis. £10,000 he cost from Brentford, and Jerry paid that out of his own pocket. Well, they're strapping him up, so perhaps he's going to come back on again. If he does, he's going to be in some pain, I would think. With only a few minutes to half-time now, Ron, would you bring him back on, or leave it a minute or two?
Well, what they'll know down there, they'll know to a certain extent the limit of the injury, and it is encouraging, because if there'd have been a problem, they'd have whipped him straight off and put the sub straight on.
But for the moment, Bristol Rovers down to 10 men. They're probing here around the Tranmere penalty area. Jones again to take the throw. They'll look for Devon White. He didn't make it though. And away comes McNabb. Finding Harvey. Good understanding between the two. And slipped lightly then into the path of Mundell. Here's Malkin. Is this the second? Well saved by Brian Parkin.
Oh, that would have been a brilliant counter-strike. Tremendous run through the middle of the field from the left full-back Mundell.
Well, that was exhilarating football then by Tranmere.
Good ball right into the path of Malkin. He really ought to have got more purchase, and he ought to have given that more of the gun, but great move from the defensive position.
Well, it could have been a second goal, but the cheer from the Bristol Rovers fans now will tell you that Ian Alexander is back on the field, although I have to say he's still limping, so I think he's going to need some more attention before he can make
I think he'll get to half-time and nothing.
Devon White couldn't turn quickly enough though. Good tackle. Came in from Garnett.
He's going off, Peter.
I think Alexander, well, he's made a stab at it. No, he's turned around again. He still stayed on. There he is, but quite clearly, the look of anguish on his face suggests that he won't be able to go on for too long. Jones with the throw. Didn't reach Devon White. Reached to pump it back in. Mayhew. Half a chance, no more. 5 minutes to half-time. Alexander still hobbling badly. Nixon has kept a clean sheet so far in this first half. That one tremendous save early on from Carl Saunders. Steele got the header on. Yates was there. Here's McNabb. Former Manchester City, Brighton and Tottenham player. Bolton too, and Morton, so he's been around Neil McNabb. And Johnny King was saying beforehand that his value really has been in the dressing room. It's been great to have him there. He's such an influence on those around him. And Johnny King's team in a satisfactory position, certainly. Bristol Rovers very much in this final. Saunders crowded out. Holloway. Good early ball for Saunders. Hughes had gone with him.
I was just about to say with Hughes, I think he's had an outstanding first half as a sweeper. He hasn't played as a lot of English teams do when they play with a so-called sweeper, nothing more than a third centre-back. He's actually given a lot of depth and a lot of cover to the Tranmere back line.
Reading the game very well, isn't he?
Reading very well and not afraid, although it nearly cost them a few moments ago, not afraid to step out with the ball as well.
Very nearly reached Muir then. Slight misunderstanding at the back from Bristol Rovers. They've got away with it. And here's Rees. It was an aimless pass though. Easily dealt with by Hughes. 3 minutes of the first half to go. Jay Francis, rather animated down on the bench. Plenty of effort from his team, but they've really only had a couple of definite chances, the best of them to Saunders.
Actually, I'm just wondering there when Alexander went to walk off again, you know, I think he was told from the bench, you stay there till half-time and see it through for us. Then we'll make a decision.
Well, he's certainly still out there. Only just. Free kick to Tranmere. Jerry Francis's assistant, of course, has been Kenny Hibbett. Now, Kenny has just taken on the job of Walsall manager. But they were so anxious that he still played a part in the big occasion today that they persuaded him to stay on for the weekend. And Kenny, I'm sure, was delighted to do so. Harvey. Here's Purnell. Devon White trying to shake off Garnett, who's stuck so close to him. Into the last 2 minutes of the first half. Mungo, long-serving player, very experienced defender.
Yeah, one of the problems, and all credit to Tranmere for this, they've stopped Bristol getting high up the park and putting in.
Steele, just to interrupt you there, Ron. Rather too delicately there, crossed by Steele. I think he was looking for Muir.
Good situation thrown away by the look of it, that. But that's something that Bristol Rovers haven't done. They haven't got far enough up the field to produce crosses. I mean, most of the things they've tossed into the box have actually been through a corner or a throw-in. You know, I just wonder whether people like Mayhew or Purnell could get higher up the field and produce crosses that would make Devon White far more effective. At the moment, he's playing with his back to the goal. He's too far out for a lot of his headers to be effective.
Yes, they haven't got away down the flanks enough yet, Bristol Rovers. Let's see what they do for this free kick here. Holloway taking it. Again, as Ron was saying, it's not too difficult for defenders to deal with that kind of ball. Here's Jones now. In for Saunders. Steele got away from Alexander, from 21 rather. And Steele pulled up. He's got an injury now. Almost at half-time. Mungo. Thomas. Alexander, who's still limping. Devon White had the strength to ride one tackle, but not the second. And then he did win it back again. Mayhew now. It's good play by him. And then Garnett able to cut out the run. Mayhew complaining to the referee. But I think he was allowed the advantage then. Well, somebody's in the wars there. That's Chef 21 this time. So Bristol Rovers with some catching up to do at half-time. And I think they are trying to make one substitution. Paul Nixon is waiting over on the far side. We are into the last few seconds of the half. Purnell, Saunders, Vaughan Jones. And it's Alexander who's coming off. To be replaced by Paul Nixon. And he's getting quite an ovation from the crowd. He battled gamely on. There was no way, really, that he could continue in that condition. So on comes the New Zealand international, Paul Nixon. He's a Geordie, actually, but has been capped by New Zealand. He's a useful man to have in your squad. We've now had 1 minute of time added on for stoppages. Most of that concerning the injury to Ian Alexander, who's now been replaced then by Paul Nixon. And it's looking, Ron, as if he's going to slot in certainly on the right side, perhaps into Alexander's position.
Yes, at the moment looks a one-for-one change.
Paul Nixon, who really plays as a wide player on the left. No doubt there'll be some reorganising at half-time, and some strong talking, I would think, too, from Jerry Francis. On from Devon White, Mungle turning away, out of trouble. Here's Steele. We've now had 2 minutes of injury time. Well, here's some space for Vaughan Jones. Holloway. Devon White. Garnett, as ever, is with him. And he really is doing a fine job, Sean Garnett, keeping a close eye on Devon White. And it's the all-white here of Tranmere now. What a lift a second goal would give them before half-time. Jimmy Harvey. Here's McNabb. Now for Steele. Harvey. Now can Malkin get his cross in from here? Patient approach play from Tranmere. 3 minutes into time added on. Little flick through in search of Muir. Thomas took a deflection. Goal kick. So referee Vic Callow, I think, is going to allow the trainer on again to have a look at the wound on the face of Jeff Twentyman. Son of the old Liverpool scout, of course, Jeff Twentyman.
That's right, his old man will tell him he's got to carry on playing. They breed him tough up there. Just looking at it very quickly, it looks very much as if the substitute Nixon is actually going to play more as an orthodox right-sided winger. And I think it's Reese is going to drop into the back four. They've even looked as if they've flirted with the idea of playing with the sort of sweeper, using 20-man more as a spare man at the back. Similar, in fact, to the way Tranmere are playing.
Certainly Reese has dropped back, that's for certain. Devon White. Here's Nixon now. Rather tentative pass though from him. Still trying to find his Wembley legs. Nixon now. Good early ball in towards Devon White. Nixon's lost it. Agonisingly over the top. It's a goal kick. But there again was the menacing figure of Devon White going in, and Nixon rather lost that one.
Well, they say it only takes a second to score. We're all looking for half-time one each, and that's arguably their best chance of the half. I fancied Devon White to make on the end of this. He hasn't quite made on it, but it's a very, very good opportunity for who's it, Purnell?
Purnell over the top.
Oh, that was a great chance to square the match there.
So Tranmere hanging on in the dying seconds of the first half.
That is in fact the first good deep cross of any sort that I think White's had to feed on.
He looked very dangerous indeed on that one. We've now had 5 minutes of injury time. Played by Vic Callow. Steele with a header. Yates just got in first. As Malkin looked to make his mark up front for Tranmere. Whistles from the Tranmere supporters. They want the half-time whistle to blow. Not yet, though. He has got a watch out there, Ron, has he? He's looking at it now. He wants the throw to be taken. The Tranmere players quite happy to settle for half-time. And there is the whistle now. So the one goal dividing the two teams, scored early on by Ian Muir. Bristol Rovers with a couple of very good chances, but it's Tranmere who go in at half-time with that one goal advantage. We'll be back with cricket after the break, and of course the whole of the from Wembley too. Join us again.
Welcome back to Wembley and live coverage of the Leyland DAF Cup final between Bristol Rovers and Tranmere Rovers. Tranmere lead by 1-0. The second half just moments away, so let's straight away join our match commentators Ron Atkinson and Peter Brackley.
Thank you, Matthew. And no doubt Jerry Francis has had plenty to say at half-time to his team. It'll be Bristol Rovers who start the second half. Jerry, who himself has never been a loser at Wembley from his days, of course, as an England player, and he'll be hoping that his success will rub off on his players. And Ron Atkinson, looking back on the first 45 minutes, I think an enjoyable first half anyway.
I thought so, very much so. I thought both sides did themselves credit. Tranmere, I think, played with a little bit more of a tactical awareness and a fair bit more composure. But Bristol were busy and threatening, and in Sanders and White, they've always got players there that are likely to cause someone.
And so often this season, Bristol Rovers have come very strongly late in the game, so they'll be looking for a repeat performance this time. But it's Harvey for Tranmere. Yates with the back pass to Brian Parkin, beaten on the one occasion in the first half by Ian Muir. The predatory finishing of Muir, separating the two teams.
Certainly, I noticed that Mayhew has come into a more central position now, central midfield position. I could see him possibly making more attacking breaks, and that will be very, very important for Bristol Rovers. They really have got to get midfield support.
Just to remind you, Ian Alexander going off just before half-time. He's struggled on for a while, and he's been replaced by Paul Nixon. Otherwise, the two teams as they started this Leyland DAF Cup final. Here's Thomas. Played it through. Steele took a slight deflection off Twentyman, and the sting was taken off the intended cross-camp shot. Saunders with Vickers, free kick to Bristol Rovers.
Yes, it looks as if they're going to use Rees in a semi-sort of right full-back position and put Nixon just up the field ahead of him in a more orthodox wing position. I just wonder how that will affect them, Peter, because he was a little terrier in the middle of the park first half.
Well, here's the free kick. Taken by Rees. Devon White trying to climb high, hooked over the bar. And that by Nixon, wearing the number 14 shirt. In fact, played in World Cup qualifying games for New Zealand. And now getting his chance in this cup final. A very tight contest. Ian Muir. Harvey trying to find Thomas. He's had a good first half. Let's hope he continues in the second from Tranmere's point of view.
He does look a good athlete when he gets up ahead of steam, the young boy Thomas. Seems as if he times his run to perfection as well.
Holloway chested that down beautifully. Saunders now. Devon White in the middle. Holloway. Well, disappointment for Holloway on this occasion, but he's been outstanding for Bristol Rovers. He's been voted their player of the season, and he's been a little tiger in midfield for them. Scored some useful goals too. He's the penalty taker in the Bristol Rovers side. Devon White leading the charge up front for Bristol Rovers. So pushing on Twentyman by Jim Steele. And they're having a rare old tussle, those two.
So it's going to be a test of character as well for Bristol, because an awful lot of their game is based on energy, and Wembley on a hot sunny day, as a lot of teams have found out in the past, is not the place to where you've got to expend a lot of unwasted energy.
Jones taking the free kick. Mayhew. Purnell losing out to Tony Thomas. But a rather rash back pass from him. He was under pressure then from Purnell.
Yeah, a little bit unnecessary that though from Tony Thomas. I felt he should have shown a lot more composure than that.
Now here's Holloway with the corner. Devon White is in there. Oh, save by Nixon. The shot was charged down. An excellent reflex save then by Eric Nixon. And that's twice that he's kept Tranmere's goal intact. Holloway through. Saunders. Mayhew! Nixon is there again. He is rapidly turning into Tranmere's hero, goalkeeper Eric Nixon.
Well, that's a good flurry. That's a very good flurry from Bristol Rovers. Good setting up play. First and foremost, you see the goalkeeper's reaction save. That's weeks and weeks on the training ground enabling him to do that. And the next one when it's, we're going to see the next one when it's stuck in to Mayhew. No, then you saw his next block when he saved the one from Mayhew, who showed the sort of support one there that I'm sure Jerry Francis is demanding of him.
So a spirited start to the second half from Bristol Rovers. 5 minutes gone. It's still 1-0 to Tranmere Rovers. Ian Muir's goal after 10 minutes. Garnett has been very impressive. Didn't know for certain, remember, that he was playing in this game until very late on. Now, Saunders for Bristol Rovers. Vickers is with him. Saunders just kept his balance there. Cross it towards Devon White. It's a second crack at it and scores! Devon White has made it. Jerry Francis celebrates. And Bristol Rovers are back on level terms. Devon White. Nixon with the cross. White, well, it comes back off Hughes, and then he smacks it away.
I mean, that's a good reaction. I mean, there's been a suggestion that Bristol Rovers were on the way to an equaliser. Had a great chance just before half-time. 2 or 3 chances now. You see Dean White there, big striker, pulls away to the back stick for the first header, which doesn't quite make for him. Good reactions and a very, very good, a nimble finish, really, for such a big man.
He regained his composure so quickly then, Devon White, as the ball rebounded to him off Mark Hughes. Now what a final we have on now. It's 1-1 in the sunshine of Wembley. Malkin, Jones conceding the corner as Tranmere look to spring straight back. And that's the reward for a very enterprising start to the second half from Bristol Rovers. And Jerry Francis has worked the magic again. He's so often inspired his players, and clearly he's done so again today. Harvey taking the corner. Harvey with the cross in. This is when teams are at their most vulnerable, of course, having just scored a goal. And Jerry Francis, well, he's smiling now. Steele, it's another corner. And this final really has come to life now. Jim Steele is in there for Tranmere. Hughes has come up from the back. It'll be Harvey with the corner. They have Garnett in there too. And Malkin, so there's plenty of height. That was Steele on the near post. Another corner.
I don't think people can quite realise. Look at the goalkeeper behind. He's behind a wall of players there.
You can't see the ball. Harvey. It'll be a long one. It's another corner. So the pressure is being mounted now by Tranmere. And he just conceded a goal. Vaughan Jones, the captain, urging his teammates to stay cool now. They've got themselves back in the game. Harvey will try again. 6 or 7 players on that near post. All the goalkeeper didn't hold it, Parkin. Here's the counter-attack, quickly launched by Bristol Rovers. Purnell sprinting away. Saunders down the middle. Well, that's a good tackle by Thomas. Didn't Purnell hold on well too? And then Eric Nixon claiming it. Pretty lively now, Ron.
Oh, very much so. I mean, there hasn't been a dull moment since they came out for the restart.
20 men. Purnell and Thomas timed his tackle so well.
I also think the tempo the game's been played at, with as I say, the heat of today, there are going to be some very, very tired legs in the last 20 minutes, and we could see a lot of space and a lot of mistakes taking place. It's going to be very difficult for both teams to keep up this pressure for the rest of the game.
Here's Jones with the throw. Beyond Devon White. Mayhew to Holloway. In towards White again. Mayhew. This time Thomas is able to clear. Loftily too. 1-1 at Wembley. 10 minutes into the second half of the Leyland DAF final, the 3rd and 4th Division Cup.
In a funny way, since the substitution, the enforced substitution for Bristol, in a funny way it's helped them, because it's meant now that Nixon has virtually played as a wider player, being able to deliver far more telling crosses for the likes of Devon White.
Vaughan Jones pursued by Malkin. My word, he was quick then, covering the ground. It was Malkin. He's taken the free kick. That was intended though. Malkin, 24 goals this season for Tranmere. The highest goal scorers, remember, in the Football League. It'll be Harvey. So often their schemer. And so often probing from set pieces. A good cross too. And the danger hasn't passed. It's held right off the goal line by Brian Parkin. What an excellent free kick that was, Ron.
Oh, tremendous curler. He's got a tremendous curler. Got the keeper right under the ball, and I think he was used as a bit unlucky not to make a better contact with the first header.
Well, let's see it again here. There it is.
Curling away from the keeper. The keeper's under the ball now. It's a great leap. Hasn't quite made the right contact with it.
It came off Malkin there. Hughes with the first header. Purnell for Bristol Rovers. Hughes finding Thomas. Good snapping tackle though by Holloway.
Certainly been a good response from Tranmere Rovers to the equaliser, because psychologically you could have expected them to have gone down losing the lead after having it for so long.
They're looking to attack again, but Vaughan Jones letting it through for the goal kick. 2 matches then in the league this season, both won by Bristol Rovers. As I said earlier on, they were a goal down up at Fenton Park. They came back to win 2-1, and they were apparently pretty impressive in the first game at Bath. And of course all Bristol Rovers matches are played at Bath's ground, Twerton Park. That's their home at the moment. They've got no training ground of their own either. They train at a chocolate factory. But they are hoping to have their own ground in the near future. Holloway. Saunders tearing through the middle. Oh, he got there first. He collided with the goalkeeper, Eric Nixon.
He'll not think he's collided with him, Peter. I mean, that's the one moment of hesitation Nixon has had all afternoon. But you saw the value of Saunders' pace.
He never looked as if he was going to get there, did he, Eric Nixon, there?
Well, he got caught in one of those sort of yes-no interludes. Shall I, shan't I, shall I, shan't I? And then all of a sudden, good ball through.
Holloway.
Good ball through, now you see his pace. The sweeper's been isolated.
Well, Saunders has gone down from that.
Yeah. Let's hope he gets up, because he's one of the most effective players on the field.
Well, now we can see the goal once again that brought Bristol Rovers level. It's Nixon with the cross. He had time then to look up, and he spotted Devon White at the far post. Hughes doesn't make it. It comes back down off Hughes, and he's put that one away delightfully. Jerry Francis will be relieved to see Carl Saunders back on his feet. Saunders was so nearly through then. Here's Saunders again, seems to be okay. I think none the worse for wear anyway, after his confrontation with Eric Nixon. Now Thomas for Tranmere. Here's Harvey. He looks so confident in possession. McNabb now. Thomas, that was an astute pass sent from McNabb. A dangerous cross in too. There's some jostling in the area. Jim Steele felt he was impeded. The referee shook his head. On we go. And plenty of time here. So goal kick to Bristol Rovers. So Johnny King, having seen his side take the lead in the first half, now they've been picked back to 1-1. And he's got another very important date here at Wembley next week in the final of the third division playoff against Notts County. It's 1-1 today in the final of the Leyland DAF Cup. Coming to these pictures, coming live from Wembley. The man who scored the equaliser is getting a ticking off for the referee. Ian Muir, who put Tranmere ahead after 10 minutes.
Actually, you couldn't have two more extremes as strikers. The one, the all-action player, Devon White. You can't miss him. Ian Muir seems to go out of games for long phases, but he's never...
Was Thomas with a shot.
He's never more dangerous than perhaps you aren't looking for him. He's one of those, he sneaks into the penalty box and very, very quiet sort of a player that's just very economical in his finishing and very, very clinical as well.
7 goals. Ian Muir has scored in the Leyland DAF this season, 35 in all competitions. And that's some going. Furnell, neat header on, but Garnett picking up the play for Tranmere, and he's given it away. Here's Holloway. There's a little buzz about the game now. Saunders. Held off Vickers. Here's Rees. Played in towards Devon White. Garnett got the better of him in the air. Here's Purnell. Always looking to take players on. Purnell again. Off he goes. 4 waiting in the middle. He's got his cross in too. Saunders didn't get there, and Rees didn't really get hold of that one.
There has been one noticeable change in Bristol's build-up. They're now playing a lot more, even the longer balls, playing them a lot more diagonally, which in effect cuts out the sweeper. The sweeper tends to cover on the centre half nearest, or the marker nearest the ball, and any diagonal ball automatically takes out the first marker plus the spare man. Just seen 2 good examples of that, one which nearly got Saunders in, and the other one just to Devon White.
Well, I'm sure Jerry Francis has worked very hard on his tactics for this game. He's a great tactician, a great thinker, Jerry Francis. He was watching the UEFA Cup final with us the other night and was analysing the play and wondering what tips he might pick up for his own teams. Just a word on the cricket score. We'll of course be covering that later on in the Refuge Assurance League. Kent 245 for 5 in their innings. Yorkshire in reply after 11 overs are 42 without loss. Jim Steele chasing well here. Putting it back towards Muir. And Holloway can bring it away for Bristol Rovers. Of course, if this match isn't settled in the 90 minutes, they'll then play extra time. And if they still can't decide it, it'll be down to penalties. So there's plenty more drama still to come. Either a winning goal for one of these 2 teams, or extra time and penalties. Who knows? Devon White in trouble now. Enjoying his afternoon at Wembley. Very experienced referee, 11 years now on the Football League list, and he's kept control of this game well. Although in fairness, it's been an excellent spirit. And certainly the crowd basking in the Wembley sunshine and totally immersed in this cup final. Saunders, how well he turned there. So sharp. That was not a bad effort at all. He really does look revitalised, Carl Saunders. Obviously his morale was low and he was not really making a go of it at Stoke City. But my word, he's come on since his move to Bristol Rovers. He had one good season, I think, didn't he, at Stoke, and then really faded rather on.
Yes, I think he weighed in with an awful lot of goals, in a comparatively few games, and I think I'm right in saying I think he had an injury which has caused him problems over the last 18 months. I think he's been in trouble prior to going to Bristol with a series of injuries.
Little push then by Garnett on Devon White. 20 minutes gone in the second half. Bristol Rovers 1, Tranmere Rovers 1. And it really could go either way. And no complaints about the quality of this game. Holloway with the free kick. Here's Purnell. Eventually cleared. That was Jim Steele back there helping out. Holloway. Off goes Saunders. Policed though by Hughes.
That's what I'm saying, the straight ball there from Holloway. The sweepers and sees it, takes it out, albeit even against the pace of Saunders. When they were switching it a little bit early, when they were switching the diagonal one, it was making things life a lot more difficult for him.
Holloway. Simply hasn't stopped running, Holloway. In the engine room for Bristol Rovers. 20-man in before Malkin. Purnell and Nixon had to react quickly then.
He needed that one, Harvey. He needed to make sure of a good contact there, because whether he was feeling the effects of a little bit of physical work earlier, but he certainly was slow in clearing the box, and the rest of the defence were expecting the Bristol lads to be offside.
I was just going to say, I think they were looking round for offside and then saw Harvey. It's a very warm afternoon here, and the weather is going to take its toll in the second half on this large, energy-sapping pitch. McNabb to take the free kick then for Tranmere, looking to restore their lead. Muir in there hoping. Garnett has made his way forward from the back, flags up though for offside. Free kick to Bristol Rovers. We're now halfway through the second half then. Bristol Rovers, the third division champions. They'll be in the second division next season, and Tranmere hoping to join them via the playoff. So Johnny King has another Wembley date next week. And they were here too for the Mercantile Credit Centenary Festival a couple of years back, Tranmere. They did extremely well too. A couple of fine wins, and then they went out to Nottingham Forest. And you remember, Ron, I think Ian Muir scoring a cracking goal in one of those games.
Yeah, Wembley has happy memories for him, doesn't it, with today's effort and that one in the Centenary tournament.
A couple of fine results this season too in the Littlewoods Cup. They beat Ipswich, they gave Tottenham a scare, and they beat Millwall. So whatever the final outcome for Tranmere, they can be proud of themselves this season, as of course can Bristol Rovers.
I think the tension's just setting in a little bit now, because We've just seen a little bit of a fracas there between Vaughan Jones and Ian Muir, a little bit of tension or tempers fraying. The previous free kick, I noticed Vickers and I think it was Nixon were having a little bit of a pushing and scuffling match.
It'll be Harvey with the free kick for Tranmere. Goalkeeper came for it and held on. Plenty of confidence shown then by Brian Parkin, who came on a, first of all, a loan transfer from Crystal Palace when Nigel Martin moved for £1 million, of course. And he did so well, Brian Parkin, that they decided to keep him on at Bristol Rovers. And he's become a firm favourite with the fans. Saunders now. He's done well here. So unlucky then, Saunders. He created the space for himself. With some terrific footwork. And Jerry Francis knows how close his team were then to going in front.
Yes, I mean, that's brilliant footwork. I mean, he's picked his spot. He's tried to bend the one. I would think almost in exactly the same spot as Norman Whiteside did the same thing a few years ago. What would be worrying for John King, I feel, there is I've just seen signs that both his key midfield players, I've seen little incidents there, both Harvey and McNabb, look as if maybe the pressure, when I say the pressure, not the pressure of the game, but the physical pressure may just begin to tell on them a little bit. I mean, that was a very, very lethargic pass from McNabb that played Sanders in the first place.
Harvey taking the free kick. Here's Nixon, the substitute for Bristol Rovers. Saunders almost got away. Vickers rather dived in there with the challenge. But he's got away with it. Burnell. And the referee gives the free kick to Tranmere. McNabb. He's such a competitive player, Neil McNabb. Maybe, as Ron says, he's beginning to feel the pace of it.
Hey, so's the little fella who's just challenging the little Burnell. He hasn't half had a go today.
Harvey inevitably will take the free kick. Plenty of white shirts in there. That was a good interception then by Yates. So he was caught in possession. Muir, the goal! Steele's got it. No emotion on the face of Johnny King, but his heart will be racing. It's 2-1 to Tranmere.
That's tremendous competitive spirit. I think it's from Hughes on the floor there. Once it's gone to Muir, he does what he can do so well. He can select a right ball. Big Steele's done that so many times in his career. It must have just seemed the most natural thing in the world. But that's the key thing there. When Hughes has won that ball back, tremendous battling spirit there.
Well, Yates had done so well initially, but then he was caught by the sheer determination of Hughes. And Tranmere, well, that's some reply from them, having allowed Bristol Rovers back into the game with the equaliser. Now they're 2-1 up. Jim Steele with the second goal for Tranmere. The second in the Leyland DAF, and his ninth for Tranmere this season. And what a vital one it could be. But don't write off Bristol Rovers. So often they've come back this season. Can they do so again? Just over 15 minutes of the game to go. Eric Nixon. That's mine, he says. Some great saves from him earlier on. A save then by the post with a shot from Carl Saunders. And isn't that just typical of football, how the game can swing one way then the other? Saunders so nearly scoring for Bristol Rovers. And then Jim Steele on the target for Tranmere.
Yeah, well, certainly in the last 15 minutes, Sanders is virtually the one-man assault force. Everywhere, every main attack has developed through him, and he was looking very likely to change the scoreline. Now, all of a sudden, as you say, it's gone right against the odds, really, and down to the other end.
Nixon. Here's Saunders. The whistle's gone, though. Free kick to Bristol Rovers. So some more defending here for Tranmere. Done well since coming on for Nixon. Let's see what Bristol Rovers could do with the free kick here. Mayhew is in there, and Twentyman, and of course Devon White. Holloway drilling the free kick in. On from Purnell. Well, let's take another look then at that second goal for Tranmere. Hughes had won the ball back. It was Muir with the cross. It wasn't that slow, I'm sure. Oh well, we'll try again later. It definitely stands though, the goal. But the Bristol Rovers players didn't look too happy on the goal, did they, Ron?
No, well, there was a little bit toing and froing before the goal. At first they were going to try and charge out and to catch the Tranmere lads offside, and I think we're just seeing there the measured chip in, and well, that's what big strikers do. They get right against the back post and they don't miss from there. But just prior to that goal, the free kick, the Bristol Rovers defence weren't sure whether to charge out or whether to hold their ground. And to be fair, the lad on the ball, I think it was Harvey, he didn't mess them about a bit. He was quite cute. He read the situation very well.
In the meantime, a yellow card for Devon White, who's letting the occasion get the better of him. 2-1 Tranmere lead. 15 minutes left then. Thomas pumping it in. Well, Steele got up well. Garnett now. Here's Thomas. Muir trying to weave his way past two defenders. He can't do so. And here's Purnell, who's paraded this left back with great zest. Offside surely. Mayhew down the middle. With his score from an international match being played. Costa Rica, of course, one of the World Cup finalists. And at the moment they're trailing by a goal to nil to Wales. And now the referee is taking the name of goalkeeper Nixon. So another yellow card. The goalkeeper in trouble here.
I think he feels a little bit of time wasting going on there.
Well, there's still some way to go. Malkin. Yates comes across. This is Vaughan Jones taking the throw for Bristol Rovers, who find themselves 2-1 down. Muir and Steele, the scorers in for Tranmere. Devon White for Bristol Rovers. Steele. Jones. Here's Purnell. Jones again. Tranmere with almost everybody back. Here's Saunders, the danger man up front, and it crushed his arm. Disappointment and frustration for Carl Saunders, but he has been a constant thorn in the flesh of Tranmere.
Yeah, he's the one. If you were betting someone now to pull the game round again, your money would have to be on him, because, as you say, shown great pace, great control, great willingness to run forward, and desperately unlucky on about 3 occasions.
Thomas. Holloway was in though for Bristol Rovers. Here's Garnett. What a sound game he's had at the back. Sean Garnett got rave reviews when he made his debut back in the Littlewoods Cup tie against Ipswich in September, and he's one there certainly hoping good things for in the future.
Yeah, I mean, he's been given the man-to-man marking job on Devon White, and he's stuck at his task very, very well.
McNabb going in very strongly. Tranmere now fighting to preserve their lead. Here's Steele, the man who gave them that lead. The Bristol Rovers want to bring on Chris Mclean, 6'5". He's a real giant, this fellow. Now, he doesn't normally play in the side when Devon White does, but they let him play together this time because Purnell is going on. What do you make of that substitution, Ron?
Well, obviously, the manager knows his reasons. He's going to throw everything forward through the air and hope that Sanders can feed off the two big lads now. That's he signalled his intent. The only thing I wonder about, and only time will tell whether the manager's made a great decision or not, is the fact that Purnell was doing such a good job on containing Thomas. If Thomas sees it right now, young Thomas at right back for Tranmere can just bomb out on the right-hand side for the rest of the match, I would think.
Well, I suppose Jerry Francis thinking now he's nothing to lose with 10 minutes or so to go. It's attack or nothing now.
Yeah, I think he's obviously got to rely, though, on getting a lot of free kicks and a lot of corners to utilise the extra height he's now got on the side.
Jerry Francis, who has never lost at Wembley, but his team might be doing so today, and as they can turn this round in the last few minutes. And don't forget, plenty more football, of course, coming up on Sky, on Eurosport. You can see the World Cup from Italy every second of every game. World Cup getting underway on the 8th of June. Argentina against Cameroon in the first match. But here at Wembley, well, we've got a really tight struggle on. Tranmere leading Bristol Rovers by 2 goals to 1, but here's Saunders now. What can he do here? Now Mclean. There are 4 waiting in the middle. And Nixon, well, his handling has been impeccable for most of this game. Harvey, it's lovely skill. Now Hughes, the man who won that vital tackle that led to the second goal. Muir, who scored the first one. Here's Harvey. And Hughes scored in 2 minds. But he's had a terrific game, Ron, hasn't he?
He has played very, very well. Just wants to be a little bit careful now. His responsibility now is they've got an extra attacker on, and he's limping badly. I think he might have just done his groin or a hamstring there. And his groin by the look of it when he overstretched. But I think it's very important, though, that he keeps his discipline and just stays behind the 2 markers now. I don't think Johnny King wants him running all over the field at this stage of the game.
Right. There's a foul by Neil McNabb on Holloway. So it's a free kick then. Latest cricket score, 65 for 1 now, Yorkshire, after 17 overs, chasing 246 to win. Bristol Rovers are chasing a goal here, and they won't mind how it comes. Yates. Tranmere Rovers just a few minutes away from winning the Leyland DAF trophy. But here's Mayhew now. It was a good strike, and came off Vickers, and safely through to Eric Nixon. Now here comes Tranmere. The second goal surely would clinch it now. McNabb. Tranmere anxious to keep possession, but Saunders had covered the back pass if there'd been one. And here's Malkin striding away from Twentyman into Muir. Steele's up with him too. Here's Steele and Thomas. Steele's cross and Parkett with a comfortable catch, just plucking it out of the air.
You see, that's the situation now. The 2 central midfield players, Harvey and McNabb, important they don't give the ball away. This is from Tranmere's point of view. And every opportunity this young lad gets at Thomas to break forward, not only does he make an extra attacker, he just makes the full width as well.
Well, Ron, you've been nominated to make the Man of the Match award today, so we'll ask you to think about that now. No Sheffield Wednesday players, it's going to be one of these. So while Ron's thinking about that, we'll stay with the action here. Saunders didn't quite get in there before Vickers. Tranmere Rovers edging their way now towards victory. There are 6 minutes left here in the final of the Leyland DAF Cup. And what a brave game performance these two teams have given us. Holloway, it's not over yet. Bristol Rovers have fought their way back once, and they're hoping to do so again. Away by Garnett, only his father as Mclean originally, and the ball's gone out of play, surely. It's a goal kick to Tranmere. And a few more vital seconds have ticked away.
That's ironic, really, but since the substitutions, it's been the two big fellas that have been putting the crosses into the box. I'm sure that's not what Jerry Francis wanted. I'm sure he wants them in the box, causing problems, letting other people stick the crosses in, letting them fight for the cross ball, and then Sanders feed off.
Steele. Jones hoisting it forward. 5 minutes to go. Hughes lost out then. Is Nixon now? A shooting chance. Oh, he's made a terrible mess of it. He's in the clear then.
Oh, good situation. 1v1. I suppose see Jerry Francis there. I'm sure he'd like to have seen him show a little bit more what we would call moral courage. That's to attack the defender, take the defender in closer. He could have run that in, I'm sure, another 10 yards.
Here's Steele. Came off Holloway. Jones now, the Bristol Rovers captain. Now Nixon, the Tranmere fans already whistling. They want it all to end. But it's another free kick to Bristol Rovers. 4 minutes remain on the clock. As the players group around the edge of the penalty area, there's still a Tranmere player down. Johnny King looking nonplussed, trying not to let his anxiety show.
And what you didn't see off the ball there was a little bit of a problem with Hughes and Nixon. Hughes is obviously very, very upset. He thinks that Nixon's actually elbowed the lad that's down. Who's down? Is it Mundell?
I think it's Vickers who's down.
Vickers is down. He's very, very upset with the thing that's caused it. And he was remonstrating with him just walking back there. In fact, he looked as if he threatened to stick a headbutt on him at one stage.
Well, the Tranmere fans and the Bristol fans, I'm sure, have really enjoyed the day. It's a day out, a fun day they call it, but of course both teams want to win. And at the moment, it's looking as if Tranmere Rovers are going to win it. Unless Bristol Rovers can find an equaliser in the last 3 minutes. Jones taking the free kick. Here's Rees. Andy Rees with the cross. Holloway couldn't make it. Muir now. The tackle from Jones. It's out of play. It's a throw to Tranmere. Just a couple of minutes now. Too much of a hurry to take it, as you'd expect, and Bristol Rovers need to get the ball back off them. McNabb. Steele with the flags up for offside. So Bristol Rovers will take the chance to launch another assault here. Thomas. There's the back pass. Rifled back towards Eric Nixon. Tranmere are almost there now. Steele's header. Bit of a mix-up. Steele's got it back again. Harvey wants to take over. Flick on from Steele. Mayhew. But the foul by McNabb. Here's Holloway for Bristol Rovers. There's Mclean outside him. Nixon here. In goes Steele. That was coolly done. Muir. Going all the way. The ball rolling away from him. Through the parking. We're now into time added on for stoppages. Are we in for one last twist of the tail? Saunders. Twisting and turning, certainly. Trying to shake off his marker. But he couldn't do so. And here's Steele. And the break could be on here for Tranmere. Muir now. He has Malkin in support. Rees had covered the run. Up in search of Devon White. Here's Holloway. Can't be long left now. Holloway's pass. Nixon has to chase. He will to keep it in at all then. And he's won it back again. Still Nixon. Oh! He couldn't find Devon White. He did the hard part.
Well, they'll never have a better chance in their lives to equalise other than that. Nixon has done magnificent to win the ball back and just hasn't put enough on his little cutback to, is it Devon White?
It's a throw to Bristol Rovers.
You would have bet money on that being an equaliser.
Tranmere hanging on here. Hughes. Devon White losing out though to Thomas. And the back pass. Saunders. So quick, so nippy. Couldn't quite get there though before Eric Nixon. And Tranmere now are only seconds away from winning the Leyland DAF Cup. They came through the Northern final against Doncaster. And now it looks as if they're going to take their revenge over Bristol Rovers, who recorded a double over them on their way to the 3rd Division Championship. We've had 2 minutes of injury time. Jones taking the throw. Devon White. Mayhew taking over. And it's off Harvey for the corner. I think they just have time to take the corner. It's Holloway. The referee looks cool enough. Mclean was on that near post. Holloway. 4-5 waiting in the middle from Bristol Rovers. Saunders! Just past the post.
I think that may be a very, very prophetic statement, just past the post.
It looks as if now the Leyland DAF Cup is going to be won by Tranmere. Saunders, who hit the post in the second half, and has played so well up front. Full of tricks, full of cunning. But the day, I think, is going to be long for Tranmere. And that's Bristol Rovers. Can sneak one back here, right at the death. Holloway. Devon White down. Saunders. First time! Denied again by Eric Nixon. What a match he's had. Comes Saunders. And it's all over. Tranmere have done it. Jim Steele with the winning goal after Bristol Rovers had bounced back so well in the second half. It's the first half of a Wembley double for Tranmere. They have the second part, of course, to come in the final of the 3rd Division playoff. And Johnny King What a moment for him.
You look around and you see people like Carl Sanders and Holloway. No way did they deserve to be on a losing side. Both had great games. But I've got to be fair, I don't think I've seen a better player on the field than young Thomas today. I think Thomas has been, for me, the outstanding player on the field today.
So Tony Thomas is Ron Atkinson's nomination as the man of the match. Just 18 years old. What a future lies ahead of him. Johnny King just sportingly shaking hands with some of the Bristol Rovers players. There he is, Tony Thomas. Wears number 11, but plays it right back. And a very attacking right back, as we've seen. And he is the man of the match. But, well, there are 22 heroes and more out there, the substitutes as well, because they've given us a grand show here. It really could have swung either way in the second half.
In the second half, Peter, I mean, what about the last 3 or 4 minutes? Bristol Rovers themselves might have had 3 goals in that period of time. Got to feel sorry for somebody like Sanders today. What a game he's had.
Well, he could have got 3 or 4, certainly, in the second half. And don't forget, he had that chance too early on in the game. It was so well saved by Nixon. Carl Saunders, well, looking a dejected figure now, but he's every reason to feel proud. And Johnny King now showing some emotion at last. Day for these players from the 3rd division. It's their chance to play at Wembley, and how well they've all accepted it too. Ian Holloway with an unusual hat on, and he's run his legs off today. The players receiving now the acclaim of the crowd, and the Tranmere players about to receive the trophy. The guest of honour, Sir Stanley Matthews. Here's Mark Hughes, outstanding in the sweeper role, shaking hands there with Jerry Francis. David Fairclough, the substitute who didn't come on, joining in the celebrations. Number 8 there, Jimmy Harvey, the man who'll be collecting the trophy for Tranmere. An inspirational captain's display from him. Jim Steele with the second goal, but in the end proved the winner for Tranmere. And here it is again. What a tackle that by Hughes.
I think that's what the Bristol lads were actually complaining about there, actually. They thought there was, I mean, that will show quite clearly there wasn't. I think that they were complaining that maybe Hughes had fouled, was he Yates? But no, just a very, very good competitive win back there.
Well, that's all history now. The cup has been won by Tranmere, and Jim Steele is the man who has earned it for them with that winning goal. And there it is, the Leyland DAF trophy to be awarded by Sir Stanley Matthews. There he is in that natty pink tie. And the Bristol Rovers players are going up first. Led up by their captain, Vaughan Jones. And nothing can take away from them the excellent season that they've had. Miraculous, it's been called by some, and you can't really argue with that. All they've achieved without a ground, with no money to spend. They don't even have their own training ground. And they have let nobody down today. They played their part in an excellent final of the Leyland DAF Cup. Kevin White, who played so well up front. Sandy Rees and Chris Mclean, who came on as a substitute. David Mayhew and goalkeeper Brian Parkin. And a nice gesture too from Bristol Rovers that they're going to buy a championship medal for Nigel Martin. The man, of course, who figured in their matches earlier in the season before his move to Crystal Palace. So he's missed out on a winner's medal for Palace in the FA Cup. But Nigel Martin will receive a championship medal for Bristol Rovers. And here they come then, the players of Tranmere Rovers, led up the steps by Jimmy Harvey. Former Hereford and Arsenal player. Bristol City 2. Receiving the welcome from the crowd, the Tranmere supporters who've travelled down from Merseyside, and how they're milking the occasion now. Sir Stanley Matthews presents the Leyland DAF Cup to Jimmy Harvey of Tranmere Rovers. A beaming smile for the captain of Tranmere, Eric Nixon, who made so many heroic saves. And behind him, Mark Hughes, whose tackle won the ball back for Tranmere to create the winning goal. Jimmy Harvey, a very, very proud man. And he'll be hoping, of course, that he can lead his team to another victory next week, so that Tranmere can renew their battle with Bristol Rovers in the second division next season. I think Tranmere didn't feel they did themselves justice in the two league games. They certainly have today. It's Tranmere Rovers who have won the cup. Disappointment today for Bristol Rovers, but their time may well come again. The final score here is Tranmere Rovers 2, Bristol Rovers 1. The cup is going to Merseyside. Join us again after the break.